Right, okay, so before we jump in today, make sure you've got a console application sitting there ready to go in C#. And then we're going to take a look at something called Overflow. And Overflow is something that can occur in variables, so it's quite important that you remember what we said about variables, where if you select a certain data type, you've limited yourself in certain parameters, such as what it can hold, what its maximum value is, and what its minimum value is. So for instance, a byte can only hold 255. Okay, so before I even explain what overflow is, let's create a byte for our variable. Let's call it b, and let's assign it its maximum value. And the maximum value of a byte is 255. Okay, so that's great, that's fine, that's held in there absolutely spot on. So let's do console.writeLine, and let's display our, well, what actually, rather than displaying byte, let's do, or rather than displaying that variable, let's do byte.max value. So every time this line runs, it's just going to get us the maximum value that a byte can hold, and it'll always display 255. And then let's display in console.writeLine what our byte variable is holding. Okay, so we see a bit of a difference. And then if you do console.readKey, just so the console window doesn't shut. And then we're going to hit F5 just to see our current result. So yep, the first line is the byte.max value, which will always say that. And the second line is whatever our variable's holding, which is the 255 we assigned to it at the start of the program. Alright, now what hasn't happened here is any form of overflow. Oops. Right, what we will do is we'll make that occur. Okay, so we know the maximum value of byte is 255. We've seen it multiple times in this video alone. So let's do b plus plus, and the plus plus is increment by 1. So if you just need to add 1 to a value, you can just do plus plus. So now b should be 256. All right, but if you run the program, you'll see that it's 0. Overflow's occurred. We've pushed past that boundary, we've pushed past that 255, and we've hit 0. So that's kind of like if you think about the mileometer on your car. If it's full of 9s and you do 1 extra mile in your car, it'll roll right back over to zeros. Alright, so what we can do though, because although you might think, oh that's great, it didn't crash, the other side of it is, if you needed that answer to be 256, overflow has, an overflow's occurred and put to 0, the rest of your program where it uses that number might crash. So what we need to do then is we can do something like, you can do the checked keyword, open the code block, and then we'll put the b++ in there, and we'll delete it from here. And what this will do, that checked keyword, will check for the overflow to be occurring, okay, or check for other things like that. But overflow is what it's going to see here, and it'll actually bug the program out. It'll crash it out. So if you press F5 now, it's going to crash. Now that's not a very glorified crash. That's you know, that's an unhandled exception. That's your program fully smashed into the ground. But it may have caused unexpected results had it not done that. And also, had we just not used check, we could have done a try and a catch, which is some error handling, which is something we're going to look at in a later video. But we could have had it pop up a nice message, you know, oh, you've passed the max value for this variable, whatever. It's up to you. But that's overflow in a nutshell. I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's basically it. It'll happen with integers and stuff like that. They would roll over. The difference with an integer though, the max value, when that rolls over, it'll actually go into a minus value because an integer is actually minus 2 odd billion, up to plus. So, you know, that won't roll around to 0, that'll roll around to its minimum value. And again, what you can do if you want to check the max and minimum values of something, you can just write them out in the console. So console.writeLine, and then we can do byte.min value. You could also console.writeLine, you know, int.max value. You can do all that. So if you run those, you'll see the minimum and the maximum value. So you can check them out if you want. You can see what the minimum value they are. So it's something good to know about. It doesn't come up a lot, but it is one of those things that you really should just be aware of, especially when you're dealing with trying to limit your variables down to the minimum sort of memory they can hold and stuff like that. Right, so just a quick video then. I hope that helped. But hopefully see you then. Thank you very much.